mind. Now, Paul Stamets is a great guy. He's one of the leading mycologists, generating a whole new wave of interest in nature and specifically mushrooms and mycology. He's written books, runs a successful company, sells supplements, and has worked with government biodefense programs since 9/11. Paul has been a regular on the podcast, but when he joined Joe Rogan for a second time, we got one of the podcast's most mysterious moments. But there were more dimensions to it than most people realized. Deep into a conversation that touched virtually every aspect of mushrooms and fungi, Joe casually mentioned portobello mushrooms, and suddenly Stamets' entire demeanor changes after he explains that portobellos have a problem. Joe was completely caught off guard here.
What are the negative benefit or the negative effects of this?
This is an explosive area of conversation, and it puts my life in danger. So I reserve the right not to answer your question.
Whoa. I didn't expect that. It puts your life in danger talking about portobello mushrooms?
But what was this strange reaction actually about? As Stamets clearly hints that portobello mushrooms are not as healthy as many think, especially if you don't cook them at high enough heat. The leading theory is that portobellos contain compounds called agaritines, which can convert to potentially carcinogenic substances. Interestingly, in his most recent Joe Rogan appearance, Joe never brought up this infamous moment again, one of the most talked about exchanges in the show's history. In fact, portobellos aren't even mentioned once in the entire conversation. But why? If it's just that it can lead to cancer, wouldn't this be good for the public to know about? Well, we have to dig a little further. You see, Paul Stamets is on record discussing portobello's dangers. Back in 2006, he had previously stated that eating raw portobellos was analogous to smoking, but worse.
It's a unique chemical that's in button mushrooms and portobellos. They're very much analogous to smoking a cigarette, except the agaritines cause tumors all over your body as opposed to just in your lungs.
Now, you've got to admit the magnitude of the original reaction itself comes across as surprising. Wasn't it just as simple as saying they're dangerous if you don't cook them properly and move on? Well, in hindsight, it seems like Stamets might have swerved the topic as he didn't want to harm the $50 billion global market, over which he has a major influence. Some even joked about the portobello mafia, which sounds absurd, though organized crime groups have allegedly controlled mushroom production for decades, especially in the state of Pennsylvania where over half of US mushrooms are grown. But there seems to be a deeper and darker layer to Stamets' shocking reaction that most theories are missing. You see, it turned out that he was once close friends with Stephen Hayden Pollock, who was also a notable mycologist that was murdered in 1981 under highly suspicious circumstances. Pollock was running illegal prescription operations to fund his mushroom research when someone shot him in the head during what appeared to be a robbery. Detective work found solid evidence pointing to 3 suspects, but the district attorney refused to prosecute for unknown reasons, and all 3 suspects died as free men. But the case gets even stranger. There's allegedly a recording that captured police officers discussing their own involvement in Pollock's murder. A drifter had stolen a tape recorder from an unmarked police car and traded it for wine at a liquor store. When the owner played it back, he heard what sounded like a cop and a burglar talking about killing the mushroom doctor. But the tape sat hidden in someone's toolbox for 30 years because they were terrified the corrupt cops would track them down and kill them too. When a journalist tried to investigate in 2013, the DEA claimed they had destroyed all the files. And this wasn't Stamets' only brush with dangerous research circles. In his latest podcast, he revealed that back in the 1970s, he was organizing secret underground conferences with the world's leading psychedelic researchers: Albert Hofmann, Gordon Wasson, Terence McKenna, and Richard Evans Schultz.
I was the only one that had a DEA license, so we did these conferences collecting all these experts together with Albert Hofmann there, or Gordon Wasson, Richard Evans Schultz, Jonathan Ott, Terence McKenna. But I had the license to be able to possess psilocybin with my professor, and so we would have all the psilocybin. So we did these educational events, academic with citizen scientists and psychonauts coming together. What's really different is we just had the Psychedelic Science MAPS conference in Denver, 8,500 people. Back in the 1970s, at any moment, we were afraid that a SWAT team would break down the doors and arrest everybody.
He was the only one with a DEA license, making him a central figure bringing together the most controversial scientists of the era, and they were operating in a high state of paranoia because at any moment they were afraid a SWAT team would break down the doors and arrest everybody. So when Stamets says that discussing some mushrooms could put his life in danger, maybe he's not exaggerating. He's seen what happens with inside the government. He's at the top of the government research with mushrooms. And he's also seen one of his top mycologist friends get murdered, and then the entire case getting buried away, whether by organized criminals or someone else. And by organizing secret meetings with controversial researchers and dodging the law, he's probably still deeply paranoid about certain mushrooms.